So I'm gonna do my best to show through camera. It's not the same in person, what this stuff all looks like. Prong is up close behind his ears, and then the e-collar a little bit lower than that. Hi. I like to keep the prong, the leash part, and this is gonna be backwards because I have the front facing camera on so I can see what I'm doing. But I have it off to his right side, since when he heels, he's gonna be on my left side. That just makes it us come together through the leash connection. I don't think I went over this when I was just showing this, but the leash is going to, let me take it off for a second. The leash is going to attach to the portion, the loop that swivels. So there's 2 loops on the prong collar, and it's gonna be on the one that swivels. And this will be off to the right side of his neck. So that way when my hand is making pressure on the leash, it's pulling him back into my left side. And I don't think I really finished going over this thought as far as picking which tool you would prefer to use if you don't want to use both. Again, leash is just going to be the prong collars. You're taking them off for a quick walk, you're working on behaviors in the home. E-collar is something that its goal is for off leash, which I'm making this video before we finish graduation. I'm making it early because my daughter's not here and I can make videos in peace. The goal is for him to be able to be off leash, and you still have the ability to communicate with him without the physical leash pressure. Because he's a little puggy, he likes to run around, do his own thing, he gets distracted and sniff. This gives you that reliability when you need him to come back to you for safety reasons. You have that way to touch him, to make him come back to you. So if you're taking him off leash, you're taking him to the river, to the park, whatever, or you're just working on things around the house, outside your backyard, and when you say it's time to come inside, you mean it's time to come inside. He needs to listen to you. So it creates that reliability, regardless if he has a leash on or not. So the e-collar is my personal preference. He doesn't have any aggression issues or anything like that. That is usually another point that I like to make with the e-collar is you're able to give corrections in those instances without adding extra energy through leash movements. All right, come here, bud. So he's got all this stuff on. I'm gonna do a little run through over his commands. I do wanna make it a point to say that Cannoli coming here, in my opinion, it's more than learning tricks. It's using this obedience in ways that make your relationship with him more clear. You're creating a language, and you're using this obedience to create healthy boundaries, expectations around your household. So he's a dog and he's going to do dog things, but when you are in certain situations and you need him to do something, now you have the ability to say, this is what I need you to be doing in this situation. Practicing at home is super critical. All of these things, again, are not going to seem like that big of a deal, but I always want you to practice a lot, so that way when you're at home and you're practicing in low distraction, and you have the ability to control what's happening around you, that gives you the ability to really get things down, to become fluid with everything, and you have a good understanding. Both of you know each other's gestures, and you know what to expect, and you know how to follow through with things. And that way, when you go out into the real world or situations that you can't control everything around you, at least you have your obedience. That's not also new information. So if he's not listening to you in your house, he's not going to listen to you anywhere else. So you want to make sure that you have that good foundation of understanding how to do all of these things, and especially for you, like Cannoli's got a good idea of what we're talking about, what to do, but you also have to get comfortable with asking for commands, with following through with commands, with using tools and things like that. So you should not wait until you're in a situation where there's a lot going on around you and distractions. You want to get lots and lots of practice in the home environment to make sure that you know exactly how to follow through with everything. Relationship does not transfer. Relationship does not always transfer. Just because Cannoli listens to me really well, that does not mean that he's going to automatically listen to you really well. But I don't have a magic wand. I'm not doing anything that you cannot also do. My main success is because I follow through with everything that I ask. Cannoli knows that if I ask him to do something, we're not doing anything else until he does that. But I want to make sure that he's always successful. I always give him something to get out of whatever I'm asking him to do. I hope that makes sense. Rewarding. I like to think of it as a bank system. You want to make sure that there is always some funds within your bank account. So giving him rewards is going to be a deposit. You're putting money into the bank. Taking out. Not giving him a reward is a withdrawal. So it's okay if you don't always have something to give him. It's not a big deal. But just make sure that every once in a while you are giving him a reward. You're giving something, you're motivating him to work for you. If he never gets anything out of this, out of doing commands for you, out of doing behaviors for you, he's eventually not going to want to do them. He's certainly going to do it with much less enthusiasm. So be motivating for your dog. It doesn't always have to be food. There's plenty of times where I work with Cannoli where after he's had a couple of treats, he's like, I don't really want any food anymore. So I have to find other ways to reinforce him. He likes to sniff. He likes to do all that stuff. So if he's been walking nicely with me, I'll say, okay, and I'll let him go sniff the ground. I'll wait till I find a nice appropriate area to let him sniff. He likes to run around in little circles and do these little somersault things. At least that's what he does for me when I take him out to a field. That is his jam. He likes to do that. So if he's been working really well for me, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to release him and let him go do whatever it is that he finds rewarding. Again, if he doesn't want food, you trying to slam food down his throat is not always, sometimes it makes it aversive. He's just like, I don't want that. Okay, I'll take it. Then it becomes almost like another command. What are you eating? Before I forget, because I always forget to put this in videos, things like his recall. One way to build drive in that behavior is alternate what and how much you give him. So let's say that he's been using the bathroom outside and you say, Cannoli, come on, it's time to come inside. If every single time you tell him to come inside, he gets a little cookie, a little dog treat, he knows exactly what he's gonna get. So if he finds something out in the yard, he finds some squirrel poop to roll in, whatever, I don't know. He can be able to process, when you say time to come inside, he can process, I know I'm gonna get this cookie. Do I like doing this more or going to get the cookie more? And he can choose what is the more reinforcing, what has the higher value. And everything that dogs do is something to make their life better. So maybe rolling in that poop is much more exciting than that one cookie. So anyway, I like to vary my rewards. Sometimes you get one cookie. Sometimes you get a handful of kibble. Sometimes you get a piece of cheese. Sometimes you get a little nibble of deli meat. I want him to not know what it is that he's getting so that it builds that anticipation. It builds that dopamine. He's like, I need to go check and see what I'm getting because it might be something really good. It might not be, but I don't know. So it builds almost like a gamble in coming to get something from you. So that is one way that I like to make the reward something exciting for him. It builds hope and excitement in coming back to you instead of just like, I'm gonna get a cookie. Right, buddy? Okay, so come here, bud. See what you're in the camera. Come here. Good boy. So the commands are just gonna be, might have to maneuver my camera down. So the command for sit is going to be upward facing palm like this. Come here, bud. Sit. Good. And then as soon as the butt hits the ground, I say the word good. And then, okay, to release. You know, cookie. There you go. And then the down command is just going to be a flatward facing palm down towards the ground. I'm waiting for him to finish chewing. Cannoli. Hi, bud. All right, so down. Good. You're just barely in the shot. Good boy. So again, we want him to remain in command until you give him his release word. So good, just to check in. You should be able to move around, drop the leash if he's not on leash, which is a good point. I recommend using the leash in the beginning to help keep him engaged with you as you're figuring out how to do all this and as you're becoming fluent with things. The leash is just going to keep him connected with you. Okay, like a boy. Place. Good. So the place command, it's just something that I use to work on impulse control. So regardless of what's happening around him, he knows that when I send him to his place, he's going to be on his place until I release him. So if you are sitting on the sofa and you get up to go use the bathroom, and Cannoli usually follows you, I don't know if he does that, most dogs do. When he's on his place, you can get up and go do that, and he doesn't come with you. So it's indirectly building spatial independence. He doesn't need to be with you every single second of his day. You getting up and moving doesn't have anything to do with him. He needs to be right there. So again, this is something that's contextual. Like, he's working on impulse control here, but it's going to help build that impulse control in other aspects of his life. So if you walk by and you drop food, drop some foods on the floor, it doesn't have anything to do with him. You can go pick it up without having to worry about him going and getting it. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but I dropped some hot dogs and some kibbles. Good job, bud. And this is something that I want to address calmness. So if he has the zoomies, he's being crazy, he's running around, I want to reward a calm state of mind. So if he's doing all that stuff, I don't necessarily want to punish it. I just want to show him this is not the correct opportunity for this activity. I'm gonna either take you outside and give you the correct time and place to act that way, or I'm gonna send you to your place to help you settle down a little bit. So I have a crazy 1-year-old German Shepherd puppy, and I like to use her as an example because she has endless amounts of energy. There's no exercise that gets her calm, it just gets her all more amped up. So how I keep the peace in my household is outside, you can do whatever you want to. You can be crazy, you can do zoomies, you can chase bees, I don't care. When you're inside, calm. As soon as she gets aroused and starts getting too playful, I put her away. And I don't do it in a punishment way, I just say, go to your room until she settles down. Or if I haven't given her enough, like there's some days where I just don't feel like playing with her, don't feel like working with her. I just send her outside and I let her go run off for a minute until she gets some of that pent up energy out, and then she can come inside. I never allow her to become aroused, become excitable inside the household. We don't play inside, we don't do any of that stuff. My dog is an extreme case, Cannoli is not that dog. But I just like to use it as an example as why I like the place command. So it's putting calm on command. It's saying, right now you're being a lot right now, let's go lay down. It's not a punishment area, it's just, we need to go settle down for a minute. As soon as he's relaxed, he can come off of his place. And it's just a gentle, okay, I'm done with that, you may follow me around now. You may go get a toy, you may go do whatever. Same thing if like people come over and he's jumping all over them, send him to his place. Help him understand that when you get that excited, you have to go relax for a minute. Or you can go outside and play. Or if you have like a designated spot in your house. I don't know where you live, like I know if you have an apartment or something, you can't just send your dog outside, but find somewhere that those behaviors are allowed. But if he gets too amped up inside or in an area that you don't want him to be amped up, give him this option. The stay is implied with sitting down, but I do use the word stay just because I know most people like to have that with their dogs. So you can either put him in a sit or you put him in down. The command is just stay, so it's just a flat palm towards the face. For the place, it's going to be just a wave to the area. I don't ever tell him to stay on this place. I just say the word place because I want him to be able to move freely on that. He just needs to be relaxed. He has to stay on it. So the place doesn't have to be one of these cot things. It could be a dog bed, a blanket, a mat, a towel, something that he can distinguish what his boundaries are. So I wouldn't just pick a random spot on the floor. It has to be something where he can say, this is where I need to stay. As soon as he goes to take a step off of there, no. When he gets back on, good. give him a treat, whatever. Back to the stay. Oh, excuse me, actually, never mind. He can have as many places as you would like. In my household, we have one that I move around. You can have multiple ones. You can have one in areas where you frequent around your house. So in the living room, and outside the dining room, in the hallway, whatever, in the bedroom. Okay, now back to the stay. So yeah, put him in a sit or a down, command to stay, flat palm towards the face. If he breaks his stay, I make it a point to send him back to where I originally asked him to be. Just to prove a point, like this is where I need you to be. And just like all the other things, it doesn't seem like a big deal in maybe one context. You want to make sure that you solidify, like when I say you stay, this is where you stay for safety reasons, because there might be a time where you put him in a stay and you need him to be right there. Maybe there's traffic or a dangerous, I don't know, dog walking by or something. He has to know through repetition that when I say stay, this is where you are, not, moving around and breaking your stay and all those things. If he is in a sit stay and he goes into a down, I'm okay with that. To me, that's him relaxing, it's settling into a stay. Sometimes the floors slick and their feet slide out, they just get tired, they want to settle down, whatever. But if he's in a down stay and he pops up into a sit, I'm going to tell him to go back into a down to complete his stay. I like to use the stay going through thresholds, so entering and exiting doorways, tops of stairs, bottom of the stairs. Those are just great times to practice that. Again, it's another option for impulse control. You saying stay as you walk through the door, and then okay to invite him through. That's him not impulsively just barging through. Or if you're on a stairway, not him just running through your feet and tripping you up and things like that. I did do a separate clip on us walking outside. I know I already sent you one, and I just did one yesterday. We're on his off-leash walk, and this is earlier in the week than when you're gonna get this video, so we're still working on things very much. So I haven't had him, up to this point, I haven't had him completely off-leash. He's just been on a long line with all that freedom between my hand and his neck. So he has the whole leash to move around and make mistakes and do whatever, but I still have the ability to, if I need to, remove him back in. That's just my insurance to make sure I don't lose your dog or him run out and get hurt or something. For his heel, for his on-leash heel, I'm looking for him to be on my left side. So again, this is a front-facing camera, so this is my right hand, this is my left hand. I want him to be on my left side. I use my left leg as a reference point. I want him to be level with my leg. I don't ever want him up ahead of me. Anytime he gets too far, his shoulder gets past my leg, I pressure him backwards, whichever pressure, leash pressure, spatial pressure, e-collar pressure, whatever. I just make it a point that I don't want him up there. He's got those little short stubby legs, so I'm not as picky with him as him lagging behind, just because I know sometimes our stride is just longer than his legs are able to keep up. So not a big deal. I do create this little bubble of where I want him to remain. So when he's on leash, I'm much more strict. I want him within a tight little bubble. Like he's not allowed to go sniff. He's not allowed to cut me off, anything like that. If he stops to sniff things, I keep walking. I make it a point for him to know, like, when we're walking for his safety. Maybe I need him to move away from something. Maybe we need to get out of somewhere quickly. Whatever. It's just something, you may never ever experience anything like that, but just having that foundation of him knowing that he needs to keep up with you, I think it's good for them to have. So let's go is the command I use. I just do a little pat on my thigh. I like to keep a short but loose leash. So I want it to be just enough length to where if my hand is relaxed down by my side, there's slack, but I don't have to move my hand too much to create tension to manipulate where he is. Pressure with the leash is just going to be opposite of where he's pulling. So if he's pulling ahead, I'm going to pull backwards. If he's cutting me off and going that way, I'm going to pull into my side a little bit. If he's cutting me off cutting me off, then I'm just gonna push out. And if he's stopping to sniff, I just keep walking and just, even if I'm like starting to drag him because he's staying back there, I'm gonna keep my legs moving to show him like, we're not stopping for you, but like we're gonna keep walking. When he is actually off leash, for me, that's a time for me to be much more flexible. I don't usually say the word, let's go. I just kind of say, come on, bud. I want him to be able to move around, but stay with me. The more you enforce it, the closer he is. So if you're somewhere where he can move pretty freely without concern, like if you take him on a hike, you're gonna do so much hiking, there's no legs, something naturey, no cars or anything like that. He should be able to ding, 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 move around as long as he stays with you. If you're somewhere where there's people and dogs, maybe you need him to stay a little closer to you for safety, so he's not running up to stranger dogs, stranger people, not bothering anyone, or getting into something he's not supposed to be getting into. I would say, which is what I do here, because there's people and there's cars, so I don't ever want him to be too far away from me. So I'll let him get a couple of feet away from me. As long as he's walking with me, I'm happy. So he can kind of peruse around and sniff and do his thing. But if I'm getting more than a couple feet away from him, I need him to disengage with whatever it is he's doing and come and check back in with me. So if he doesn't, then I'm going to use my e-collar. No, come on, bud, to help fix that. I want him to know that whatever your bubble is, I would be consistent in that situation and enforcing every time you get out of this zone, you get some sort of a pressure applied to come back towards my side. You good boy. For his recall, again, varying your rewards. It really goes a long way, even if you don't have his e-collar on, him finding value in you and what you have to offer. That is the secret sauce to having a reliable recall. Nothing other than the e-collar can make your dog come to you, so you have to be more exciting than things happening around him, and just normal you is not going to cut it, so you will occasionally have to go above and beyond to get him to want to come to you. So if you say can only come and he's chewing on a stick, he's probably not even going to look at you. So you're going to have to be more exciting than the stick or whatever it is. So you're going to have to be the chocolate cake when he's eating cheese. I don't know, making something up. I usually, especially if I don't have his e-collar on, I will refrain from giving the come command until I know that I will be successful. So if he's running around doing his own thing and I say cannoli and he doesn't even acknowledge that I exist, I'm not going to say the word come, because I know that he's not going to he's going to blow me off and he's not going to come, and then I've just made it to where he didn't have to listen to me. So if he doesn't listen to you, then you're going to have to be creative, clap, run away from him, be silly, be goofy. Once you get his attention, then you can say, come on, come, whatever. If you say, cannoli, cannoli, come, cannoli, and he looks up at you and he looks like, maybe I'm going to listen to her, come, and then you know that you can say, hi, bud, good boy. You can successfully get him to come to you. So yeah, if he doesn't come to you, hey bud, and you absolutely need him to come to you, or you have it, let's say you have his e-collar on, which you should regularly have your e-collar on. Cannoli is anywhere from a 5 to, on the higher end, 10 usually on the e-collar out of 100 in increments of 1. I think I've only had to go higher than that one time. That's because he was sniffing duck poop and he was really into that, and then it scared him and it was too much of a correction, so I had to turn it right back down. So normal stuff, 5 or 6, 7 is usually his go-to number. The level that you, I'm gonna come over here, the level that you use is going to be contingent on what's going on around distraction levels. If you're just walking quietly down the street, you're probably not going to have too high of a number because there's nothing competing with his attention towards you. If you're walking and he's trying to sniff grass, or there's dogs walking by, there's people walking by, you might have to go a little bit higher. Don't be afraid to adjust the levels on your e-collar. Whatever works, works. So if you have to go to a higher level, like higher than 10, if that's the lesser of two evils, as far as getting him to come back to you, then do it. He knows what the information of an e-collar is. I've taught him that through layering it into the commands that he already knows. That's how he knows how to respond to this e-collar. So just because you're going to a higher level doesn't mean that you're necessarily hurting him more. It just means that there's so much happening around him that he doesn't even notice that it exists. So a 5 works in one situation. It might feel the same as a 10 or a 15 in another situation. If you go too high, just turn it back down. It's no big deal. It happens. There's been plenty of times where I accidentally am a little bit too high for a dog. I just build them up afterwards. So if you accidentally move the dial with your finger and it's on like a 13 and he's kind of like, oh, too much, just turn it back down. Good boy. Like, build him back up, get him excited. What we're looking for as far as the level that you want to use is him doing the behavior that you asked. You should not be able to really tell that he feels it. So if he's flinching and doing things like that, it's too high, just turn it down. So you shouldn't be able to see, really shouldn't be making any gestures that he feels it. At most, maybe an ear flick, or if it's on the right muscle, you might see the muscle contract since this is a muscle stimulant. I'm having a brain doozy. But yeah, you don't want to hear any yelping, anything like that. Turn it back down if that's the case. This should be, the box part of the e-collar should be sitting either to the left or the right underneath his neck, or the right or the left kind of off to the side on the top. And again, it's going to be a little bit lower than the prong. The prong should be higher up, closer to his ears. He's got like 2 inches of neck to work with, so it is a bit of a tight fit, but we definitely want to make sure that the e-collar is snugly fitted to his neck. Hey, come here, what's that? Good boy. Trying to make sure I'm going over everything. When I use any form of pressure, I want to make sure that I am cueing verbally first. And I did go over this in the video of him walking with me that you'll get separate to this. When he starts to get a little bit ahead, I will say no, and if he doesn't respond to just my verbal no, then I'll apply the pressure. So we want to give the command, sit, and then if he doesn't listen to that sit, then we're no, apply pressure, sit, good, thank you. With his e-collar, if I'm telling him to come and he's blowing me off, I will say no. I usually do like a tap, come, and if he's still ignoring me, then I'm going to apply that pressure. If it's something where he needs a little bit of time to process what's happening, you can change the dial and make it a little bit higher of a level. But I like to also, instead of just doing E, I'll do E, D, D, E, D, D, E, just to kind of break up the monotony. I hope you like my sounds. Just because I feel like one continuous sensation gets a little bit dulled out after a while. And then as soon as he looks like he's committing to coming to you, release, good boy, all that crazy stuff. Even if right after you have to apply pressure again. I don't always necessarily need the full picture of him running backwards or running back to me. I don't want to continue to punish if he looks like maybe he's getting ready to move towards me. So if he's walking away and I'm saying no, pressure was being held down, if he stops and looks at me, I'm going to release pressure. Good boy. I don't want to punish that because then he could be like, well, that didn't work, so I'm going to continue moving this way. I'll just deal with the pressure. I want to show him, even for that little split second of acknowledgement, that is what I wanted. And usually when you switch to reward, they're like, oh, okay, I'll come do that. But again, try your best to be more motivating than whatever it is that he is so interested in that he feels like he needs to ignore you. And that can be tricky, lots of movement, be silly, be loud, claps. For doggies, I like to, if they're getting too far ahead of me, I'll make a stomping motion backwards, and so they're like, oh, you're leaving me, and they run backwards. So it builds drive and wanting to stay with you and be engaged with you. I've included a packet for you to take home when he graduates. It's got a bunch of documents in there for you to read over. There's gonna be one page that has a list of ways to use your obedience. That is going to be ways to incorporate training into your day-to-day life. I like to include that sheet because I want training to be everyday life for you guys. I don't want it to be something where he's trained and then he never uses his obedience ever again. But I know that normal people, not dog trainer people, it's trickier to incorporate so much dog stuff into your life. And I know that if you work all day, if you're working right now, if you work all day, you come home, you have stuff to take care of at home, and then I go, oh, and I got dog training. I know that's, if you're having a long day, that's gonna be the one thing that you just, we'll do that tomorrow. So in this sheet, it includes ways to kind of multitask. And if you can involve Cannoli in what you're doing, then you should absolutely do that. So training should never be, an hour-long event, 2 to 3 minutes at a time. Just quick little sessions to make it fun, make it exciting for him, and that's going to help strengthen your relationship and give him opportunities, options of how to behave in whatever situation that you put him in. And again, it's going to create a nice little language for you guys. So I know that this is weird that it's on a video and not in person, and I've had to do quite a few of these now, and it never gets less weird for me. So if you need any help, please do not hesitate to reach out. When the world opens back up, we can do an actual face-to-face lesson. I'm totally fine with that. I encourage it. I want to make sure that you're happy with your training, and I want to make sure that Cannoli is benefited from all of this. So do not hesitate to reach out, ask any questions, whatever. I hope that Cannoli keeps coming. He's sitting in my lap right now. We're all very obsessed with him. Yes, he's a good boy and he's the cutest, so please keep bringing him, please. And again, if you need any help, just I'm an email or a phone call away. So enjoy.